Hello, my love. Welcome to the Desire Devotee, your digital temple, where ancient tantric wisdom meets futuristic pleasure technology. This is the space where you get to receive transmissions, hands-on tutorials, ceremonial rituals, and embodied guidance to elevate your love life, your sex life, and your relationships. I am a certified love, sex, and relationship coach with a master's degree in integrative health coaching, and I am here to bridge the paradigms and bring you the truth to elevate your love life. So if you feel the resonance in your body, sweetheart, make sure to subscribe, like this video, or share it with a friend, as it truly does support my mission. And if you want to go deeper, visit elfina.cissociety.world or follow the link in the show notes to take my erotic archetype quiz, unlock your sexual superpowers, and join my email list so you can stay in the pulse of all of the pleasure. Now, without further ado, welcome to the Desire Devotee. Hello. Welcome to Desire Devotee. My name is Elfina. I'm a love, sex, and relationship coach, and I really love the arena of sacred sexuality, which is really infusing the heart and the sacral and living our lives in a way that we can reclaim our life force energy as a gift, as our greatest asset, as something that isn't just used for sex and penetration, but can be used for creativity, for business, for friendships, for family, for vitality, healing, health, wellness. So many areas that we can channel our sexual energy. And when we can reclaim our sexuality as sacred, then we're able to come into wholeness instead of fragmenting pieces of ourselves because of religious conditioning, shame, sexual trauma, societal norms, right? All of these different areas that were affected, the way that our parents raised us, right? The way that our school and our friends influenced us, the experiences that we've had, the way that we've seen mainstream media portray sexuality, relationships, porn, right? All of these areas that have really crept in and told us that sexuality is sinful, told us that sexuality is something that's shameful and gross and dirty, or it's just super hypersexualized, and then there's addiction, and there's manipulation, and there's betrayal, and there's cheating, and there's all of these things, right? And I'm really here on a mission to remind you that your sexuality is a gift. It's a portal to the divine within you. And that when you can reclaim your sexuality as sacred, then this whole new world of possibility opens up for you. And so I'm going to be sharing a little bit today around what is sacred sexuality, because we hear this word a lot, and I'm going to share a little bit about my personal experience with my sexuality and my journey, just so you can understand, who I am, why I have this mission, why I know what I'm talking about. And some level, of course, we're all still learning. I'm still on my journey forever. And just to help you get a better understanding of the type of coaching that I do, and why it's important, and why I think that this is something that I believe that pretty much every single one of us has some sort of wounding, some sort of trauma, some sort of blockages when it comes to love, sex, and relationships. And it's not necessarily anyone's fault. A lot of it is because of I think a lot of it is actually due to the religious imprinting we have as a society. Even if you didn't grow up in a Christian or Catholic family, which many of us did, but even if you didn't, there's still this norm that's been perpetuated through the media of a certain standard around sexuality and a certain standard around love and relationships. And because of that, anything outside of that norm has kind of been frowned upon and has been taboo. So what I'm talking about is this norm of monogamy, this norm of waiting until you get married to have sex. In Christian culture, that's like what they teach. A norm around just it being something that's taboo, something we don't really talk about, right? Like, that's inappropriate, that's a private matter, that's for adults only, these types of conversations. And then what ends up happening is, because these things are so taboo and so hush-hushed and shut down, we have a problem. And what happens is, when anything is suppressed in one extreme and controlled and given a certain narrative, what happens is there's a counter. The pendulum has to swing in the other direction, right? So if something's really suppressed, such as sexuality, that literally is something that affects every single one of us. It's how we all came to be in this planet, right? We came through by our parents having sex. I'm so excited to share one of the most transformative online tools that has completely revolutionized my self-pleasure journey. OMG, yes. Until the last 2 years, I struggled my entire life to orgasm on my own without a toy. I felt broken and hopeless. But within 2 weeks of starting this course, you guys, I had my first orgasm from my own touch. And I was like, hallelujah! And I can say that it's only gotten better and wetter from there in every way. OMGS is a fun, user-friendly, and amazing course that's packed with videos, techniques, and interviews that completely shift the way that you experience pleasure. So whether you struggle with orgasms or just want to amplify your pleasure, this course is a game changer. So you can click the link in the show notes to unlock your pleasure through our affiliate code today. So it is so innately human. It's like the most innately human experience, and it's crazy that it's been seriously probably the most suppressed topic. And because of that, it's created a distortion. And when we try to suppress things and deny them and shame them, what happens is it just creates more of the opposite. So now we see that we've had a really big upsurge of pornography, cheating, divorce, lying behaviors, manipulation, codependency, and even extreme people who are all around polyamory and alternative ways of relating, right? And I kind of see it as the pendulum has swung so far in this like Puritan Christian suppression direction that of course the pendulum has to swing in this other direction, where now this stuff is underground. Now there's all these addictions around sexuality. Even if you're in America anyway, we don't really have many nude beaches. And so even just seeing a naked woman is like a big deal. And instead of, you go to Europe or something, and from a young age, you go to naked beaches and you see that a naked body is natural, normal, right? It's where you suck your milk from when you're a baby. And instead of hypersexualizing it like we do in a lot of Western cultures, hypersexualizing a woman's body, it's just normal there. So this is just another example of all the ways now that because of the hyper control and suppression, we have this counterculture of shame, addiction, abuse, like, right? All these ways, like infidelity, cheating, lying, all of these ways that now I believe that sexuality is probably the biggest collective wound on the planet. And sexuality is actually such a powerful thing beyond sex. I believe that sexuality is probably the most powerful force on the entire planet, because sexuality is our life force energy. It is not just about sex. It is literally creation energy. That's why when you have sex with someone, you can create a baby. You can literally bring a new being through another dimension, through the yoni portal, into this world. Tell me something that's more powerful than that. So, of course, I feel like when there's something so powerful, forces, and I don't want to make this like a propaganda like conspiracy thing, but it's just the patriarchy and forces of control and systems of control. They see that when something is so powerful, it's a threat, right? It's a threat. So I don't believe that it's circumstantial that so many of the norms in our society are around controlling, suppressing sexuality, specifically and especially for women. Because when people have that power and they remember that they are the creators and their life force energy is not just for jerking off and giving away to others or for trying to get something and trying to take something, but actually it's their life force energy to create, to birth new projects, to birth businesses, to create families, to create healthy relationships, to do sex magic, to communicate with the divine, to literally connect in with otherworldly experiences, to heal your body. It's like, I can't think of anything more powerful than that, right? And so, this is why I believe that it is the largest collective wound on our planet, and this is why I am so devotional to really bringing forth these new codes around our sexuality. And instead of saying, you either have to be pure over here and avoid sex or do it in this specific way, or you need to just go be under the radar and sneaky and have distorted, addictive, unhealthy relationship with sexuality. I am here in the middle, and I'm saying, hey, there's nothing that we need to hide or shame or fear. But when we hide in shame and fear sexuality, like anything else, like any shadow, the more you resist something, the more it persists. And the more that you try to fragment it from you and hide it and judge it and fear it, the stronger that it gets. And when you keep it in the shadow realm and you don't bring it into the light, you don't integrate it into who you are, you don't show it to other people, it actually becomes very dangerous. It becomes very dangerous, and this is how we see a lot of these things becoming very destructive, like people raping people becoming pedophilias, having sex addictions, porn addictions, using sexuality as a way to escape, as a way to receive validation, spreading of unhealthy sexual diseases, and just perpetuating shame in general, which is why I think so many women struggle with orgasm, men struggle with premature ejaculation, relationship divorce rate is higher than ever. And I don't think this is coincidence. Again, it's because our sexuality has been so suppressed and it's been super fragmented from our hearts. And so in the middle lies, how can we connect what I would say the root and the crown chakra, the root chakra being sexuality and the crown chakra being the sacred divine. And we don't necessarily want to live on either extreme all the time, which is kind of what's been happening with how our society has fragmented sexuality. If you think about it in the chakra system, what we really want to be is aligned. We want to be living in our heart center most of the time. At least we want to start there. We want to meet ourselves, others, in the heart center, and then we can move the energy up and down, but we don't want to get stuck in any one place or any extreme for too long. And if you really want to find this balance point of sacred sexuality, then it's about bringing the sacred and the sexual into the heart. And that's where they converge, and that's when we're able to live a life that is in alignment with our desires, where our desires aren't controlling us, where our primal, lustful instincts aren't animalistic ways, aren't destructive and controlling us, right? But also where we're not living in a place of disconnection from our bodies, disconnection from our desires, suppressing our attraction, right? We don't want to be there either. We came here to be in the body, to be in the experience, and ultimately at the end of the day, everything is love. Everything comes back to love. And fear and judgment or lust and impulse aren't really love. And so to me, sacred sexuality is really about finding that sweet spot in the heart and bringing the heart energy through when we are making sexual decisions, when we are having sexual experiences. And what happens is when we can come into the heart space to filter everything else through, there is so much magic that opens up that I guarantee probably majority of society has never even experienced, because they've never even been taught these things. They've just been taught that sexuality is just something that lives in the genitals and it stays there. I mean, for most of my life, I'll tell you a little bit about me and how I grew up. So I grew up in a Midwest town with very Christian, conservative, strict parents. And I'm not saying my story to blame my parents, because I know that they authentically were doing their very best. I know that they were called to Christianity because they were looking for something to save them. And I know that they didn't have nearly as many tools and resources to do personal development work, healing work. They didn't have the internet like we do now to learn so much about different ways of being and believing. And so I'm honestly grateful for how I grew up, because it really did lead me down the path of sacred sexuality and healing that I'm on now. However, growing up in this really Christian, dogmatic, judgmental way of viewing sexuality and the body was extremely harmful for me. And it's still something that even decades later, even as a professional, I'm still deconditioning deeper and deeper layers. So I was taught that, I was never given a sex talk. I was taught that when two people love each other very much and they're married, then they make a baby and they have sex. But no one really, I never had a sex ed class. I went to a Christian school too, so it was kind of like double downing on the dogma and the fear and the naivety. We didn't have a health class. We didn't have a sexual health class. So I never got taught about the genitals. I never got taught about STIs. I never got taught about how to have safe sex or what sex even really is. I just got taught to fear and suppress and numb, and that even masturbation, self-pleasure was a sin, was something gross, was something shameful, was something super taboo, was something that you do not do. I was told that sexuality is lustful and sinful, and that premarital sex was sinful, and that you would go to hell if you had premarital sex. And I was given a purity ring from a young age that I was meant to wait and save myself until I was married, and that if I had sex before then, I would be considered impure and I would be less valuable, less worthy to a potential partner in the future. And that if it was something I did, then I really needed to repent and change my ways. So you can see that as a very young child, even pre-verbal, I was already being imprinted with these deep beliefs around sexuality being something shameful and wrong and sinful. And it really affected me. I never explored myself sexually. I never really explored with others sexually until I was in high school. And when I did start exploring, I really had no idea what I was doing. And the first sexual experience I had was actually with a woman, because I think I was so afraid of the masculine in that way. I had no idea, I think that because of that, it opened up the channel for me to explore with a woman first. And then once I started exploring, eventually started exploring with men, had my first boyfriend. We didn't have sex, but we did other things. And I was like, okay, well, if I don't have penetrative sex, then I'm still a virgin, I'm still pure, kind of this funny thing of we push it until we feel like we, you put it in the butt, or you put it in the tip, or whatever these sayings that people joke around about. It's kind of real, honestly, especially in the Christian culture when you don't want to go to hell. So basically when I turned 18, I had my second boyfriend, and we wanted to have sex for the first time together, and he had never had sex either. And so once we made love and had sex, and I started, going down that path, I really felt like I became fragmented, like this Christian part of me couldn't coexist, like this sacred divine part of me could not coexist with this earthly part of me that wanted to have sex, that wanted to go to parties, that wanted to drink alcohol. Like I literally felt like they could not coexist together. I felt like I was gonna be a heathen, I was gonna be a fraud, I was gonna be, unaccepted. And so I had to leave Christianity. That, to me, that was my only option. Either I had to be pure and continue on the path I was on without doing those things, or I had to explore those things, but then I could no longer call myself a Christian. And so to me, that's, I think, when my sexuality and my divinity really became fragmented even more. Because then I made a conscious decision, okay, I want to explore being a human, I want to explore sexuality, and this means that I'm no longer divine. And that really led me into a whole era of sleeping around, having boyfriends, having casual hookups, a lot of casual sex, and then eventually leading me to where I am now, which is really coming back into a reclamation that I can have both, that I am sacred, that I am divine, that I am God, that I am goddess, and that my sexuality is sacred. And so now I would say I have really created, this is like a long journey from there to here, but a lot of womb clearing, a lot of healing, a period of 3 years of celibacy, and now in my relationship of almost 2.5 years, doing the deepest sexual healing, religious deconditioning, and being able to orgasm for the first time in my life with another person. Yes, I wasn't able to orgasm with another person until about 2 years ago, a little less than 2 years ago, in this current relationship that I'm in, because there is such deep levels of sexual shame and numbness that were blocking me. And I was in my head, I was trying too hard, I had so much like ingrained shame and disgust and blockages in myself from the way I was raised in my Christianity. Not only that, but I also experienced sexual trauma that happened to me when I was an infant. So also that was deeply disturbing for my nervous system and blocking me on a really subconscious level from experiencing the orgasms, pleasure, and surrender that I really desired my whole life. And a lot of women, so many women struggle with orgasm. They struggle with feeling in their bodies. They struggle with surrendering and letting go. And I think so much of that is honestly due to sexual trauma and religious conditioning. Those two things in themselves probably are the majority of reason why women and men struggle, because men are victims of sexual abuse and men are victims of religious conditioning too. However, I think that the symptoms can show up a little bit differently for women and for men. I think maybe men sometimes struggle with maybe like sexual addiction, porn addiction, seeking novelty experiences, and using sex as a way to escape a little bit more is like the patterns that I tend to see, although a woman can definitely do that, and I've definitely done that in my life as well. And then what I see is like a lot of women are the ones that struggle a little bit more with orgasming and surrendering and the numbness, although everyone is so unique. So I share all this with you because I just want you to know that if you resonate with any of these things, it's completely normal. I just want to say that and normalize it and validate that whatever experience you've had, and especially if you know that you've had any sort of religious imprinting or cultural community imprinting, familial imprinting around sex being something that's not pure, that's not sacred, that's not divine, or if you've had any sort of sexual abuse, trauma, you are not broken. You are not broken. I used to think for so many years, I'm broken, what's wrong with me? Why can everyone else orgasm? Why can everyone else orgasm? I can't. And this was before I even realized that I had had this sexual trauma happen. And so many of us have had sexual trauma. I think this statistic is really underrated. I believe it's like 3 out of 4 women and 1 out of 4 men, or even more, have experienced sexual trauma. And that's just the ones that are being accounted for. I mean, a lot of us, especially those who experience sexual trauma from a really young age, like infancy for me, or being a young child, you block and suppress that memory as a way to survive. And oftentimes these memories, these experiences don't surface until later on in life when you're really doing a deep healing work. And the school that I've been in for my love, sex, and relationship coaching is the deepest healing work I've ever done. It goes deep into the soma, into the body, into the primal brain, the primal body, and you connect to these imprints in your nervous system, trauma imprints of these experiences. And actually it's been through this program, through an experience with my beloved, that I had this flashback. He saw it too. I've had, I don't even know, dozens of healers throughout my life who've done body work on me, who've done somatic work on me, been my therapist, be like, hey, I think something happened to you when you were really young, a sexual trauma from your dad. And I was always kind of like, well, I don't remember, I don't know. And I had all the symptoms, though. I had all the symptoms, like so much shame around sexuality, blockages with orgasming and surrendering, nervous system dysregulation, codependency, anxiety, as well as addiction to pharmaceutical medicine, eating disorder, which is a form of mental health addiction, and all these other things. And so finally, as soon as I uncovered that, it kind of made so much sense for me. I was like, oh, because what I've been learning also in my program is that pretty much any addiction we have now is caused from unresolved, unhealed trauma that happened to us. And when trauma goes unhealed, it stores in the body, and eventually it turns into an addiction, a disease, or something that's blocking us. And so basically, especially if these traumas happen like in infancy or childhood, it's literally setting the stage for the rest of your life to attract certain partners that are emotionally unavailable or abusive, or whatever the experience is for you, depending on how your dad was or your mom was or whoever created this experience for you. And it sets the stage for addictive behaviors, substance abuse, escapism, right? Numbing, all of these things are all just symptoms of unhealed, unresolved trauma. So I say all this because there are so many ways that, because of this collective shadow, that sexuality and our sacredness has been so split from each other, has been so disconnected and fragmented. And what I am really coming into realizing is that our sexuality is an expression of our divinity. It is the channel, the ability to take the divine that is around us, inside of us, and to bring it into form, to bring the formless into form. And when we can really reclaim our sexuality, it's not just an impulsive, animalistic thing that happens to us, or not just something we're using just to make babies, or not just something we're doing to get off, but when we can really re-sanctify our sexuality and re-sanctify our body as a temple, and our yoni as a portal to creation, and the lingam as a sacred staff of light of creation, then we can harness this energy for so many beautiful things. And we completely shift the way that we are in relationship to our sexuality. And now, instead of our sexuality being something that controls us or destroys us or takes us off of our path, it's actually something that fuels us, something that gives us more energy, something that helps us to manifest abundance, friends, love, money, something that can literally send healing energy to every cell of our body. Like, we can use our sexual energy in a way that we can literally heal ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. There's so many ways that our sexuality is our greatest superpower. And just like with anything that is so powerful and so life-giving, it comes with immense responsibility. And so this is why we see that something that has so much beauty and so much power is something that can be so easily corrupted, and something that we really need to have a lot of, I believe, a lot of discernment around, a lot of boundaries around, a lot of clarity around, so that we are really using it in this intentional, beautiful, sacred way that is connected to our divine nature, that is empowering for us, that is supportive for us, that is loving, that is connected to our hearts, that's connected to the hearts of others that we're connecting with. So I feel like I could just keep talking about this for so long. There's so much more I want to say. But what I'm going to end this video with is just saying that your sexuality is sacred. You are God, goddess incarnate. And even if you haven't come to this realization yet, even if you haven't experienced this, even if my words feel foreign and confusing and like, what is she talking about? Maybe you can just, another word we can use is the universe. You are the universe. You are everything. And when you can really harness this beauty that is you, and you can connect that love within through your sexual expression, you are able to transcend these experiences of trauma and fear and shame and control and escapism. And you can really move into a more elevated state of peace, purification, creation, abundance, pleasure, love, connection, because you're no longer fragmenting yourself. To me, sacred sexuality is about merging in the heart and the wholeness of who you are, and bringing all of who you are into alignment so that you can live your life in the most empowered, aligned, and potent way possible, where you can bring your life force energy into everything that you do, into how you speak, into how you are present with someone, into how you think, into what you create, into how you feel safe in your own body. And when we as a society are able to shift from these extremes of separation and fear or destruction and chaos, and come into the heart with our sexual energy, damn, that's heaven on earth. That's heaven on earth. And so I am here as a beacon, as a bridge, as a guide to remind you that your sexuality is sacred. And we will go through so much more in this YouTube channel around what is sacred sexuality specifically, how can you harness it, how can you heal some of these wounds and blockages that are standing in the way, how can you reclaim that within, what are some tools and techniques like specifically around sacred sexuality. I'm going to be leading tutorials. I'm going to be showing you different practices you can do with yourself, with a partner, with the earth. And I'm going to also be hosting live Q&As where you can drop a question, you can drop a comment. I'll do my best to answer you as a sexpert, a sex love relationship coach, and a pleasure priestess. So thank you again for watching this video. Please, 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 if you like this video, if it resonates with you, if you found something delicious and resonant inside, please leave a comment, like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel. Any and every one of those steps is so instrumental in helping me get my mission out into the world and helping us to really reclaim our sexuality as sacred. So thank you again, and I love you. Mwah.